So we're going to talk about children tonight and neglect and parents not doing their job and stuff like that. But I think what we discovered in the pre-show as we were talking was that Ashley would make one hell of a mom because she's got some protection skills, and I don't want to give away her entire game. Let's just say Ashley's got some abilities you would not expect, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Keep it mysterious. But I wouldn't want to cross her. Let's just put it that way. I would bow out.
I mean,
before I would cross her.
Really, anybody on this panel? I mean, I've learned some things, but
I think she might be the scariest.
I without a doubt. I'm
officially
about to hide under my desk.
All right.
If y'all say so.
We say so. All right, everybody, welcome to Sidebar. So we saw some cases a couple of weeks ago that kind of got our attention, and we thought we would talk about the whole idea of child neglect and bad parenting and all of that sort of stuff and how it crosses into the courtroom, and obviously we'll bring up food at some point because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. But specifically, we saw two cases back on June 16th. We had a mother in front of Judge Mercer down in Florida who had 7 counts of child neglect leveled against her because she allegedly, of course, left her children alone on the weekends so she could go visit somebody who is in the custody of the Department of Corrections.
Unacceptable.
Which I thought at the time was a really interesting choice. And then the next day in Judge McBurney's court up in Georgia, we saw a woman who allegedly left her 10-year-old child home alone for a couple of days in an apartment with no supervision, expired microwave meals, kind of poor conditions in the apartment because she was a drug addict and she relapsed on the anniversary of her mother's death and decided it would be a good idea to just leave the child while she went out and did drug things. So I think those two are kind of the basis for where we start, kind of a jumping off point. But I guess we start with this question. Is it time in modern society where it seems like we're raising such poor children, and obviously some of that seems to be because we have such bad parents? Is it time for parent licenses?
Oh, we're past that point. Yep. That point was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree.
My youngest, he's not quite 18 yet. So I would have been in that position where you're arguing for a license. I think I've done it okay. I don't think I needed a license.
But there's people of your generation that.
So we're blaming Gen X for everything is what you're saying.
Hey, as a millennial, I'm sick of taking everyone's shit.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd have to agree with Lindsay. I mean, people blame everybody else for their issues, and it seems like we get blamed for the younger generations and the older generations for screwing everything up. So I'm tired of being in the middle, and people just need to get their stuff together and figure out how they're going to care for babies before they take things out of their pants. So I just...
All right.
I'm
that's a wrap, everybody.
And
I don't think it can be said better than that.
I'm tired of people having all the
60,000 views.
People people like having all the fun, but don't like taking the responsibility. And if they can't take care of themselves, how in the world will they take care of a younger person? And this is something we see time and time again in court. And I'm sick of it. It's a reoccurring theme. And people just, they need to stop blaming their childhood. They need to take care of themselves before they have kids. I mean, this is coming from someone that doesn't have a kid. I take responsibility. If I would have a kid, I would take it very seriously. And it seems like people just take that that responsibility and take it for granted to have kids, and they think they make it seem like kids are possessions instead of people, and that's something I'm not okay with.
Yeah, I have a couple different thoughts, and I think we probably have some generational stuff definitely coming out to play, like I was left home alone as a kid. I was latchkey, let myself in, made a snack, sat home by myself, and I turned out all right. So I'm gonna leave my 16-year-old home for the weekend watching my other kids. They'll be fine. There's probably some of that coming into play. Like we're starting to see some cycles repeat. We're starting to see some bad decisions come out to play. And that they weren't acceptable then, and they're not acceptable now. It's just now I think it's spun out of control.
Yeah.
There's more of a light pointed on stuff like that compared to just kind of happening. Everybody knows, but not doing anything.
I mean,
we're not on Friends anymore. Not everybody knows your name, so you can't.
That's Cheers, Ashley.
Or Cheers. I'm sorry. Cheers. I got my quotes mixed up, but not everybody knows your name anymore. And you need to take care of your kids. Don't let your boyfriend take care of your kids. Don't just take care of your kids. Do what is right. I know that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because everybody has jobs and things like that. I understand, but
yeah.
I don't know. Something needs to change there for sure.
I definitely have a lot of thoughts on this. We were talking a little bit in the pre-show when we weren't hearing about
Ashley
guns and bows and everything, but we were talking a little bit about this,
by the way. Government. I'm not.
And
Thanks.
So Dan and I come from the generation of the feral children and the latchkey kids,
Yes.
I'm not saying it was perfect or anything, but I will say that we definitely learned a sense of responsibility. I mean, listen, my parents were around a fair bit, but yeah, they still worked and it's not like we were home alone for 12 hours at a time typically, but it was one of those things where you came home from school and you were home alone. Or if you had a brother, they were there. But, you went out, and then you were told to go out and play and come home when the streetlights come on. And we drank out of hoses. And, I realized
Looking
that
through
maybe...
his cliche book here.
It's cliche. It's
It was all
cliche,
true.
but the sad thing is it's true. We rode our bikes all over the neighborhoods and, were there kidnappings? Were there things that happened that weren't good in the 80s? Yeah. But I think maybe the pendulum swings a little too far the other way, where it's like people seem to think that parents should be helicopter parents now. And then kids don't have any sense of responsibility or any idea what it's like to be on their own at all, and no independence, no agency. So, neglect is kind of a weird, it's a hard thing to define perfectly. I think it's one of those things, when you see it for sure. Like, for example, you go and leave your child at home all weekend so you can go and visit your boyfriend in a correctional facility. Okay, I mean, that's pretty obvious. We had a case here where, a guy was, rather than watching his child, he was betting on games in the NBA, and his child drowned. Again, pretty obvious what's going on there.
Right.
But I didn't have a babysitter for my kid. They came home from school at 3:30. I didn't get home till 5:30. Is that neglect?
No.
I mean, and I guess if the child
weren't-
is
It depends on the
5,
perspective.
You weren't 10 years old though.
right? If the child's 5, maybe.
Yeah.
If the child is 12 or 13, I mean, at some point, children have to have at least a little bit of you have to be able to trust. Hopefully you can trust, you raised your child well enough. You can trust them when they're 12 or 13, not to completely wreck everything or commit a crime for 2 hours before you get home from work. It's.
I mean, there was one time my mom left to run an errand and left me home alone. Didn't actually leave and found me climbing the cabinets to access my Halloween candy. So that was about the most that we got into.
Yeah.
But you can still get into shit.
Yeah.
At any age.
Oh no, I mean for sure. Yeah. And just because something bad happens or an accident happens doesn't mean a parent is neglecting them either.
Right.
Yeah.
Neglect is one of those. It all comes down to intent.
Yeah. For sure.
And if you're making a good faith effort, it's, I don't think it would be fair to call something neglect. But if you're if you're going out for the weekend, you decide to go to Vegas or, we have so many of these cases in Arizona and it just breaks my heart. It's one of those things that'll just, it'll take you to tear town in no time when you see parents. You see a mom or a dad, they leave their kid in a hot car, they forget about him in there, or they go into a salon and they'll be like, oh, well, I left the car on, I left the air conditioner on, but maybe the car turns off or something happens or
battery dies, it runs
battery
out of gas.
dies.
No, it's pretty inexcusable. That's pretty inexcusable in my book, leaving a kid in the car. I mean, you never know what can happen in a split second. So you can think that your child is perfectly safe and everything is fine, and then in a split second, someone could be stealing the car. Heaven forbid.
Well, that's one thing, Ashley, but that you could almost forgive. But the fact that cars, here in Phoenix, the interior temperature of a car can get up to 160, 170, 180 degrees. I mean, you're going to have rotisserie child, and it doesn't take long. And that's the sad thing. And so
even with the air conditioner on or the windows cracked as well.
And I know, Austin, you're right.
I was in 110 degree heat last week. Okay. And it was hot. And I was like, so this is how it feels, kind of what it would feel in Phoenix. So I can't imagine leaving a kid in Phoenix and even in a car like that.
Right. And that's just, and, I know we've had these kinds of discussions on Sidebar before about, kind of more broadly like child abuse. And again, sometimes child abuse is really easy to define. Beating the crap out of your kid and they got bruises, doing stuff or selling out your child for stuff, the obvious. But again, there is a generational gap, is simply the act of swatting your kid on the butt child abuse? Well, nowadays, some people would say it is. Now, it's not necessarily codified into the law like that, but you can be investigated for things that may not be abuse and find yourself in a whole mess just because of whatever. So, there's a lot of gray areas in this kind of a conversation, but I think the two cases we saw in McBurney's and Mercer, and the other one I brought up too with Dan in the pre-show and Austin was the truancy cases that we often see in Judge McNally's court up in Michigan. Not sending your child to school and not homeschooling them, it's not the same level of neglect, but it is still neglect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little bit softer than physically.
Sure,
but it is still a neglect.
It's against the law. I mean, so.
I think what sets these two cases apart that we started with from so many of the other things we see, and this is where I have a problem with so much of modern parenting, because it's not really parenting, is that in both cases, those two people were being very self-serving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and
They're
putting
doing things for
themselves and their own needs and desires above that of their children. And I think that's one of the biggest things in parenting that has been lost.
Yeah.
Now I will say, because I've got 4 of them, so I've got some experience here.
Yeah, you're
There
the
is
dad here.
there is something to be said for you have to take care of yourself. It's the whole put on your oxygen mask before you put on the mask of the person next to you.
Right.
It's really the same thing. So if you're not right, you won't be a good parent. The whole reason that I left my first wife, without going into details, is that situation I wasn't able to be right. So I knew that I couldn't be my best self for my children in that situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to do that, but that's Helen gone from being self-serving from I'm going to go out and attain this level of enjoyment or pleasure or whatever because I just want to make myself happy.
Yeah.
There's a difference between making yourself happy and making yourself right.
But people
Correct.
are confusing necessity with doing what they want to do all the time these days too. So there's that. What about? Go ahead, Lindsay.
You know, you're exactly right. Like we're confusing self gratification with, getting, Dan said, getting yourself right.
Yeah.
You know? Like it makes me happy in this moment, so it must be the right thing to do. So I'm going to keep doing that above my other responsibilities. So
well, it's because everything is rooted in the concept of the feels.
Yeah, it's feeling.
Just listen to how anybody responds to anything, even those in positions of power. You talk about how you feel. Well, I want to feel safe. I want to feel secure. I want to feel rich. You don't want to feel any of those things. You actually want them.
Right.
But everybody's just obsessed with the feels. And because of that, when we go and do something that legitimately feels good, like we'll go do a drug or we'll go, try to shack up with the guy at the DOC while nobody's looking or however it gets done. It misses the mark.
Yeah.
Yep.
What you're getting there is a moment. You're not getting the actual thing that you need, the actual security, the actual thing that makes yourself better. And I think that's part of the problem is everybody's so stuck in the feel that progress on yourself that then leaches down into your children doesn't happen.
Yeah. It's
right.
It's both the stuck in the feels and it's in some cases avoiding other feels. Like I don't want to feel sad that I'm missing time with my partner who just happens to be incarcerated.
Right.
So instead of coping with that feeling of loneliness because I have a responsibility, I'm just going to chase that other feeling of being happy because I'm with them and, whatever. And I don't want to speak so much to the addiction piece of what happened with that other case, because that's a whole other
That's a whole different shebang,
that's psychology and way, way deeper. But it's also a similarity. Like I don't want to feel the sadness or I can't cope with the sadness. So I am chasing this other high to get away from that sadness.
Yeah.
Wahoo points out in the chat that he says, I think there are more good parents than those who abdicate their children to abandon. I would agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we're talking about a minority
court,
here.
Unfortunately.
But it's still a dangerous minority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel it only takes one and the hard thing is it only takes going down one slippery slope to have an issue with your kids, because like Dan said, if you're not right personally, even if it's money, if it's your health, if it anything of that nature, or even being incarcerated, like you did a bad action, for instance, that kid is going to be affected, and that kid it's such you have to be on the straight and narrow yourself in order for your kids to get what they need. And I feel like or I said feel again, but I just think, what am I trying to say? I just think that people are not thinking about that. People are only thinking about what they want, where they need to go, or how they think they should go, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
We definitely live in an instant gratification society. Like we're chasing that instant feel good, that dopamine hit. So we keep chasing that. People keep chasing that.
And I am not saying everybody does.
Not everybody, right? But
yeah, not everybody. I don't want to apply this to the whole population, but I feel like especially this day and age, with everything, I mean, even with deliveries, right? We have like the next day deliveries, overnight deliveries, so people can get things immediately. We can get pretty much everything that we need immediately. And like just piggybacking off Lindsay's saying about self-gratification, that kind of plays a part in that too.
Right.
I'm going to potentially open up a can of worms, but that's okay. Because this is how we learn things, I think, is by delving deeper. And we have two women on the panel, so I'm going to ask you two, because you're the best to answer. Is there something to the fact that for some time now, women have been told and educated that they can have absolutely everything? They can have the career, they can have the child, they can have it all. And when that fails, is that perhaps part of the neglect that comes in that we're seeing from some of these women that we see in court who have done wrong by their children? Is it an expectation that's set too high that isn't really achievable? And is that perhaps part of the problem? Like they want to go and they want to do all these things, but they want to have kids too. So, but there's just not enough hours in the day to do it all right. Is that part of it?
I think it applies in these cases. I mean, yes, that's definitely a problem of like, okay, you can also have your family and have your career and, just use all 24 hours in your day. And if you have time to take a shower, cool. But I think in these cases, I think we're also seeing where women have lost the village that would have maybe been around them in past generations, family nearby, right. There's some more of a support network where there aren't other people to fall back on, and eventually you just kind of hit that F-it moment, and your system kind of overloads, and you say, "I'm chasing what I want because I can't effing do this anymore."
I agree with Lindsay's point actually. I do feel like when I was growing up, I had a whole network of family to support me, right? I feel like a lot of these women that we see in court, I'm not applying this to all women, of course, but these women that we see in court come from broken families, broken houses, and they know their parents raise their kids or raise them like they're raising their kids.
Yeah.
And it is a domino thing, I feel like, as well. And that support net, the only difference is you don't have that close knit structure that you had in the past. You only have you and your boyfriend, or you and somebody that's not you had a child with, but they come and go. You know what I mean?
Baby
like
daddy.
They don't have that person, or they don't even have that support. So how are they supposed to care for their child when they don't even have that support to back them up? So I think that has a lot to do with it, for sure.
Well, I think the point that you two brought up, I think it's adjacent to my thoughts and might actually just refocus them in a better way. If we're talking about the loss of a support system and everything, is part of the loss of that support system is that everybody is going out trying to achieve everything, rather than just focusing down on more select things that are perhaps more important in the long run. And I'm not just saying that's just with women. I see men do it too. They're all over the damn board.
Yeah, and that's
they've got 55 baby mamas after all. So, it's not one sex or the other. It's both. But I wonder if everybody is just told, go do what you want, have it all. And as a result, the systems and routines and the communities and everything else that are supposed to keep everything in line and, protect and nurture children are just falling apart.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think there's an income thing here too, or a socioeconomic thing. Because like in the particular career path I am in now, almost all the women who do have kids, their children are either in a daycare where they go pick them up, or they have a nanny that either lives there or comes to their home. So they have the means to buy the support network back.
Right.
Whereas, some of these women that we may see come through, these systems, they don't have the means to buy that network. So what happens when you make either the decision to go off and do your thing, or what happens if you just had to work a double shift and there was no one to watch the kids. So you had to leave the kid outside or leave the kid in the corner booth with the coloring book and a soda, I think there's that coming into play too, or just, I think the gap, the things are stretching. There's the gap between the lower end and the higher end.
And I think on top of that, to piggyback off Lindsay's point before I forget it, is that those resources that are there for those children and families that really need it to help supplement income is being all used to replace income. So it's that as well. People are having kids but not able to fully support those kids and relying on the government and relying on other resources this day and age more, I feel like, than they did in the past. And those resources are being used up by those people. Even though I understand they think those funds are supposed to be used for them, when it's not supposed to be used completely for that. Like, it's supposed to supplement, not replace income. And those people don't feel like they have to work and instead take care of the kids. But then, being home all the time, taking care of the kids, I think also affects your mental health. So I think it's a whole thing there as well.
And what I was going to say is I was going to piggyback off of Lindsay. I remember times with my mom's starting, I must have been like 6, where she would bring me to work and I would be that kid sitting in the corner booth doing homework, doing coloring pages until I got old enough. And then it was, hey, we need some help.
That's exactly it. Like I was that kid. I was in the back room of a small shop, like with the pricing gun, like, hey, you're here. So here's something you can do where hopefully you won't break too much. And I got to fill a little time card and it was all so cute, but kind of keep it quiet because you really shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And then, when I was old enough to work, then I just started working.
Yep. I sat in a break room doing trays all the
and I went to my mom's work too. When I was a kid as well, thinking back on it.
Yeah. And that happens, but I don't think it happens as much anymore because people are calling it out.
Yeah. They're like, they can't support them. Like, I feel like they think of it as a negative thing. Yeah. Like they feel like they're going to be judged by their either the managers or their coworkers saying like, oh, like she doesn't have enough money to buy, take their kids to daycare or have enough funds. So it looks negative on their part. And I feel like that's why a lot of people don't do that too. And after COVID, things got strange too.
That is the understatement of the freaking decade, Ashley.
Yes.
Yes.
And in regards to the work atmosphere, I know that by experience,
it's never recovered.
Got really strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Well, I went down. Well, you guys were talking. I went down a road in my mind that unfortunately hit a bit of a brick wall, but I'll share it with you anyways.
Okay.
I was just thinking that, we're talking about the parents going to work, and then sometimes the kids are there with them and all that, whatever. But we're in a situation now where in most situations both parents are working.
Mm-hmm.
But and Lindsay, you gave the example of the people that you work with, how their children are in daycare or they've got some kind of nanny situation or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff is so incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the other way to look at that, and I think it's easier now in modern society with all of the tools that we have to work from home, I think in a lot of cases, a lot of these people would be better if they were at home with a side hustle. They would probably net even, if not a little bit ahead in a lot of cases, and be the ones actually raising their own children and teach and instilling them with their values and beliefs and whatnot,
Right.
rather than outsourcing it. But where I hit the brick wall was then I realized that for that to really work, it has to be a 2-parent household, which is just
It's not
you
really.
got less than a 50-50 shot of that now.
Yeah.
So,
That's kind of the sad factor of it. Is I think a lot of these cases that we see, the dads or the co-parent is just not there.
Yeah.
Be it a custodial situation or dad's in lockup or what have you,
I see a lot of.
we're seeing more and more
parties
instances where mom isn't there.
Yeah.
Our 2 examples
I see
today
a
were
lot
mom
of
not
kids
being
these
there.
days actually staying with grandparents. That especially I see both parents kind of being out of the picture in some way. In these types of cases, like they both have like either addiction issues, checked out, things like that nature, and then you have grandparents and immediate family that are supposed to be those loving and nurturing, and instead taking care of their kids full time, that type of thing. So I think it's just a breakdown. Just completely. It seems both parents, maybe they didn't. There's just so many situations that they can't find themselves in and don't put their kids first in the choices that they make, and their kids are affected. And now somebody else has to pick up the slack. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, look, some of these people just flat out should never have had children.
I agree with that.
I mean, they couldn't be bothered to, put on a condom or take a pill, and then they couldn't be bothered to deal with 18 years of responsibility thereafter. I guess it's just, it's weird. To me, it's like, if you are that selfish, why? Like, if you're and we're not talking about somebody that maybe just didn't quite cut it, that didn't quite do perfect by their child. But I mean, like, some of these people that we see in these court cases, I mean, if you're just that bad a person, and you're going to be out there, doing stuff, maybe that's where you wrap it before you tap it. I mean, that's maybe, I guess I just will never understand the mindset. It's trying to get into the psychology of people that are neglectful like this, or, not even necessarily abusive. Because, the problem is, we'll see this too in these cases. They'll be like, well, I didn't hit my child. I left them with the food. Yeah, but you were gone for a week. Yeah, but I mean, just what's wrong with that?
And they had food in the fridge. What's
They're
so bad about
6,
that?
dude.
They're not a cat.
You brought up a good point, Mike.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point about not thinking. And I think that's just the thing. I think it's as simple as that.
It's what we've been talking about. They're thinking about the gratification. They're thinking about the gratification in the bedroom or wherever the child was conceived. And then they're thinking about the gratification when they go to the casino and leave their kid at home, or the gratification where they go into the salon and leave their kid in the car, or the gratification where they go and, potentially make another child when they have a conjugal visit at the prison. They're thinking about themselves, and this is a problem in society. I know it's always probably been there, but it seems like, and maybe this is just a function of there are more people. So when you have more people on a planet, you're going to see it more by virtue of a numbers game.
Yeah.
But it sure seems like it's getting worse. I don't know. Maybe and we kind of circle back to maybe our standards have just changed. But I don't think it's just a standards change or a generational thing. We don't see as many latchkey kids now as much as we see just, kids are just on their own. Even when parents are there, Lindsay, like even when parents are there, I mean, look, what about what was it? The Jennifer Crumbly, the two parents that basically ignored their child's mental health problems to the point where even the day of the school shooting, they're in there talking to the school counselor, and then the kid decides to just go ape crap all over that school with and shoot it up.
Yeah.
And he says that he told his parents multiple times that he had mental health issues and they ignored it. They were there. They made money. They made good money. Yeah. So sometimes neglect isn't as simple as I went to Vegas for the weekend and left my 7-year-old at home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And you said it wasn't generational, Mike. I want to say it might have something a little bit to do with it. Mm-hmm. Because okay. So going back to the baby boomer generations, I feel like I think it kind of stems from there. I think each generation is getting progressively worse at caring for their kids. Because like I was saying before, it's kind of like a domino effect in which if you're in the baby boomer generation, right, and your parents raised you, but you had so many kids in the household type of thing, I just don't know. I feel like that might have something to do with it too. Not completely, because of course you have the economy and all that kind of stuff to factor into it, but I think it does have, in a way, something to do with that, because it seems like each generation is getting worse and worse with expectations and self-gratification. And now we're at Gen X, right? And we see how different they are from like even 3 generations down the line. They're completely different. So I think that has something to do with that too.
Yeah. I just Googled a horrifying question to get an answer, and that is, do orphanages still exist in the U.S.? And they're virtually extinct. And I just couldn't help but think, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, if there were parents that were in a position where like, F it, I can't take care of this kid. Mm-hmm. It was terrible, and there's a reason they don't exist. But that was an option.
Yeah, right.
In some cases, better than what we have now.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about the generational thing, Ashley, and I would tend to agree with you that it seems to be getting worse and worse. But one of the things that we had back in the day, mm-hmm. and fun fact, that was a Wednesday, by the way, when people say back in the day. But you had structure more than we do now.
True.
Community structured around women's organizations, men's lodges, churches, things like that. There was community, and there was enough community, and families tended, especially in rural areas, they would tend to stick together generationally.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So bottom line, selfishness is nothing new, but there was a whole bunch of people standing in line to bonk you over the head.
Yeah. When
you showed that. And They were more than happy to do it, because back in their time they were bonked over the head for it too. Yeah. There was a policing that was in place that would tend to keep people better in line. But the policing is gone. because we don't have the organizations, we don't have the structure, we don't have the stuff like we used to. So now it's just so much easier for somebody to just run and do their stuff without any immediate consequence of somebody in their face going, "Don't do that. I've been there. It's wrong. Go home to your children."
Yeah.
I guess
They're more
that's a
likely
good
to get cheerleaders online going, "Yeah, you go."
Well, yeah, I
That's a
think,
good point.
and you know, social media, again, I not to blame everything on social media, but
I blame
No, we
everything
make
on
our living
social
there,
media.
Michael.
but
Absolutely.
but that said, I mean, there is certainly something to be said about neglect from that aspect also, because maybe this is just me and this is just curmudgeon talk right now. So, get out your Werther's original. Here goes Mike with his, old man
I'm here
thoughts.
for
But
it. Go ahead.
but maybe you don't let your kids just have all their time on their phone. Maybe you don't let them live their lives on Facebook, well, on Instagram and Snapchat and
Snapchat.
and Twitter X and Discord. Those are all great tools. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of them. I don't think that social media is the worst thing that's ever happened to the planet, like some do. But just like anything else, just like in our generation or in millennials, it's like, well, the TV was the babysitter sometimes.
Yep.
Well, now it's like, well, we'll just give the kids the smartphones, and
iPads.
that is, on one hand, it's a great idea. Kids should learn technology and apps and all that, and that's cool. On the other hand, it's extraordinarily dangerous and irresponsible.
Right.
Unfettered, unsupervised access.
Especially if you don't have the controls set up.
Yeah,
Predators.
it's the parental setup on the devices and stuff. And I know these devices have things that have like timer like systems that limits kids, activity on these things. But I don't know if they should have them at all, and I don't know what age they should be exposed to them. It's just, there's a reason why we've had an influx of people with attention disorders, things of that nature. Kids are being wired, their brains are being wired differently than past generations as well. And though that it's going back to that gratification thing again, Mike. Even kids are being exposed to immediate gratification at a young age. If a kid is acting up and crying because he wants the iPad and iPhone, guess what he gets? Guess what they get? They get an iPhone or iPad type scenario.
Yep.
And I don't know. I feel like they're trained their brain when they're really small to have that reflex. And it shouldn't be that way, for sure. Touched grass. They should be out playing and doing kid things, Now kid things are exposed to like those electronics.
I think it's worth noting that the tech CEOs of the world, the Mark Zuckerbergs, for example, and those like him, do not allow their children to have devices.
That makes sense.
They don't.
Yeah.
Almost to a person, they will tell you that when they're interviewed,
Yeah.
that their kids don't have devices. That should tell you everything you need to know right there.
I have a second cousin that turns 5 this year, and he wasn't allowed to have devices when he was young. Now he's getting exposed a little bit, but no, he wasn't allowed to have those, and I commended his parents for that. But yeah, I think more kids shouldn't be on those electronics very much. I know they're cracking down in Europe in regards to social media and things of that nature. I think, I don't think it would be a bad thing.
I don't know. just at the risk of talking out of both sides of my mouth, I will say when I was a kid, we had, Nintendo, we had Atari and Nintendo and Super Nintendo and arcades. And I will tell you, it's funny. Somebody sent me a video about the dangers of like games like Mortal Kombat and how America was having a debate, and you had Tipper Gore and you had some of these other people out there that were just up in arms. There was one thing that was bipartisan. Both sides seemed to think that video games were the ruination of society. Oh my God, if you leave your kids to play video games for 3 hours, you're the worst parent in the world, because look at how violent these games are.
Right. And
I just think nowadays, I'm like, I don't know, man. At least we went out and went to arcades and talked to other kids. And
exactly.
I don't think it's that bad. Like it was
not compared to the 9 hours that typical now is typical. You know what I mean? 3 hours is nothing.
But I mean, it's more like this. Kids have devices. They can go in their room. They bring them to school. They can disappear into these, and they have access to other people, and that means other people have access to them.
Yep.
Playing Mortal Kombat in an arcade in 1992, you didn't have access to creepers and predators and people would just scoop you up, you know. And we had more PSAs about stranger danger than we did anything else. I mean, that was just constant. And nowadays, I think. That's sort of the issue. And so when we talk about neglect, it's a very, very nuanced conversation. Mm-hmm. Again, there's certainly just cases where it's easy. It's, rubber stamp, sent into prison. Goodbye. Maybe we should have castration. But in other cases, it's not quite as black and white.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a progression thing it's a progression thing as well. Like you start getting into bad parenting habits, and then you go down that slippery slope.
Right. The Michelle Hobsons of the world, if you don't know, she was the YouTube mom here in Arizona. She lived down in Maricopa. She had all those foster kids. Yeah. And she had that YouTube channel, Fantastic Adventures. And she basically, this wasn't just neglect. It was neglect/abuse. Didn't feed the kids, did all sorts of terrible things to them if they didn't perform properly. And then there's, Ruby Frankie, and there's all these other high profile cases of neglect/abuse. Yes. Obvious. But it gets more complicated when you're talking about, the parents of, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. I mean, were they the worst people in the world? I'm not saying they were. Their kids did something just horrendous. But and should they have done more? I guess. But, it's one of those things where, there's no manual for how to be a parent either. It's not as clear cut as somebody thinks. Yeah, sure. Don't leave your kid alone in the bathtub or alone out by the pool.
Right.
Yeah. But then there's a lot of things that aren't quite so obvious.
I just told Eli the other day, and I've told him this many times, but I reminded him the truth of it is, as a parent, your ultimate goal is to just not F them up more than need be.
Right.
Because, and it's a funny way to look at it, but it's true, because to your point, Mike, there is no owner's manual. Every kid is different. You've got no idea really until you're in it, how you're going to handle something or what to tell them or what to say. But I will say that being engaged with them and looking out for their best interests will always win over the type of things that we saw with these two cases that we highlighted.
Right.
Absolutely.
It is better that I screw up as a parent trying to do something than to do nothing at all.
Right.
And let them just run wild.
Yeah.
Or ignore them completely.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the neglect is people not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's not them trying to be a good parent. It's them they're not trying at all.
Yep.
And that's what we see. I think that's how these two cases are kind of similar in a way, is because these people, I mean, drugs is a whole different issue, like Lindsay said, but these people weren't trying to take care of their kids, and that's why they are so called out. And they think it's okay to do these actions, which is not acceptable. So yeah, I think that's definitely a thing with these two cases, especially the one when they were seeing they were putting their significant other over their own kids. That is not okay at all. And that's not good at any case. So
that would be right if they were in a marriage with the person. You take care of the marriage before you take care of the children. If the marriage isn't right, the children aren't going to be right.
I don't necessarily. In that case, I kind of agree with that, Dan, but I kind of don't. Just because it was Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time,
having done it both ways, Ashley.
Yeah, no.
Trust me.
Oh yeah.
Taking care of the marriage and having a healthy marriage will help you in raising the children. So in that, there is an order of operations to things if it's done properly. Healthy marriage first, and then that health feeds into the children. That's how it should work. But these two situations were hell and gone from all of that.
Right.
I think and
partnerships.
I think I agree what you're saying, Dan, in the long run.
If it's done right.
Yes. Yeah. In the short run, I think the kids' safety and health come upmost. That's what I'm thinking in my head. But I understand what you're saying about that relationship building.
Well, I think a lot of people will confuse what I'm saying because they might look at that as, okay, mommy and daddy need to have their bedroom time every day, or mommy and daddy have got to go out 5 times a week. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about building a bond together so that you operate as one.
Right. I get that.
And when that is strong, that feeds down into the children. Because
having a unified parenting style, agreeing on how to raise the children. It's not necessarily about, we
having
always
a bond
have to,
and a partnership.
Right. It's not about, we always have to agree on everything and everything has to be roses and butterflies and little bunnies jumping through the woods. It's, marriages are tough, but if you show your children that, there's resolve and there's loyalty and togetherness and we're still unified, morally speaking, that should theoretically translate into them, and that will keep them healthier. It doesn't always mean that just because you have a good marriage, your kids turn out to be great. And it doesn't mean just because your marriage falls apart, your children turn out to be bad. Look, my parents got divorced when I was 14. I think I'm okay, I guess, kind of, sort of.
Yes.
And their marriage, and again, it wasn't always perfect. My parents argued about stuff, but it wasn't bad either. They still were a pretty unified couple. They just eventually it just didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
But that,
and that's just a change in the relationship. You still have the co-parenting. You're still sharing the role of.
Well, their divorce was amicable. We have so many, that are very contentious, and they take each other to court. And, there's just all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's about being right, not doing what's right.
Sometimes that's needed, right? But I think some things, I think
my parents,
you want to try to do it amicably, like you said.
When they got divorced, my dad moved across, town. He moved probably about, 10 or 15 miles away. But my mom just said to me, hey, if you want to go be over there for a weekend or a week or what, cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask. Just you can, because, and again, I was a little older. I was 14. My brother was already an adult. He was, just turned 19 when it happened. So, you know, it was one of those things. But so I guess it's a little bit different, but still there wasn't this big fight and this big battle. They handled it like adults. They handled it responsibly. And I think that was a very good thing to pass along. Even though my brother was an adult, it can still be devastating to a young adult when parents get divorced, especially if they're fighting and it was contentious for years and all that.
That's something else that has changed with the baby boomers and stuff of that generation as well. Before, you didn't divorce was not talked about, and it wasn't done. And
Rarely
now
was,
it is very prevalent.
You can blame a lot of our problems, in my humble opinion, on the advent of no-fault divorce.
Well,
In some cases,
yeah,
I will totally forgive divorce. Like,
Yeah.
I can think of couples that had no business still being together, but held.
But that's a
to-
bad decision.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
But now you can just get divorced and I don't think that's necessarily the right path either.
Yeah, well,
Right.
I mean,
There's reasons why you should, but
Oh, yeah. I had a look.
Abuse.
You're talking to a
Yeah.
guy who was divorced once, so I mean,
Well,
I
yeah.
get it.
yeah,
I'm not opposed to it,
right.
but there were reasons behind it. It
Right.
wasn't just cause.
yeah,
And I
because
think-
you want to
and
do
that's-
what
I'm
you
no
wanna
longer get the
do.
dopamine rush. We had the wedding, we had
Yeah.
the babies. The dopamine's not there. Next.
Yeah,
get it.
exactly. Now it's just I've grown tired of you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like I
not-
want to do
not-
my own thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
That's not going to work.
well, yeah,
Okay.
well, I mean, and you know, it is a generational thing because again, when my parents got divorced, and I can talk about this now because my grandma Groff, my dad's mom, she's passed now, but when my parents got divorced, my grandma, who was always very nice to my mom, suddenly wouldn't talk to my mom anymore. She asked, this is the weirdest thing. This is sidebar to the sidebar, but so
We haven't had one
they,
yet, so
so my grandma Groff, her name is Evelyn Groff. She gave my parents, she gave like my mom this table, I guess was like a wedding gift. And she asked for it back after my parents got divorced. Like,
was it a family heirloom?
it was a nice like little thing, but it was like a I don't know, like an end table or I don't know what it was okay, but
Yeah.
what
That
why?
happened in my
They were
family
married
too,
20
like-
years. It wasn't like, oh, they got married and 2 days later they had it annulled.
Yeah.
They were married for 20 years. Like,
I think
I don't
my
know.
parents were married a total
Definitely
of 4
generational
years.
thing.
They got divorced when I was like 2, and that's when I moved to Florida. But what I was going to say is, they had my grandparents came to my mom and they're like, "Hey, we want this, this, and this back, and you're giving it to us."
Unreal.
It's like they think
Like I said, the only way I can understand is like, hey, this is a family heirloom.
but
I
even
would-
then,
yeah. But
Lindsay,
even then,
it was
like,
given
I
as
had-
a gift.
If it
I
was a
had
gift,
fa-
yeah.
I have family as well that's happened to. And they're older than I am considerably. They divorced and their parents didn't like that and they stopped talking to them. That's happened
Yeah.
to my family too.
Yeah.
So that's definitely not I guess unusual because
It
back
was just
then-
weird how it happened. And then
yeah.
just before my grandma died, a couple of years before
It's like
she
they
died,
think it's sinful or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
she then sends like a check to my mom and says, "Oh, take the boys out for Thanksgiving dinner." She sent in like a $200 check and be like, make sure you take the boys out for dinner. And it was a weird, I don't know. It's just the way they looked at marriage was, hey, you get married, you stay married, even if it's bad, and you just ride through it because
You
that's
work
what you
it
do.
out. Yeah.
I guess unless he tries to kill you or she tries to kill you, but other than that, pretty much you just stick together, and that's how it is. And,
Right.
I don't know. And was it a better world then? Well, I don't know about all that, But it was different.
World.
It was different.
Well, friends, we've about hit our time, so we
Wow,
should probably
already?
wrap it up.
Yeah,
But a
That
couple
went
of
quick.
things. Credence and Mikey in the house tonight. Greetings to you. If you're not familiar with Credence and Mikey, go check out their work. Also, Lone Wolf was in the house a little earlier. He's getting his stream started right now,
Yep.
and we will redirect to him after
Okay.
this. So please do stick around and check him out. He's been incredibly supportive of us. So let's
Lone Wolf's a
support
good
that.
dude. Credence and Mikey are good folks too, but
Exactly.
Lone Wolf hangs out with us a lot, and we love that guy.
Every morning. He actually told us this morning that we were the best morning show in the space. So that was a nice
That was
compliment.
really nice.
Well, that's really nice.
Yeah.
He's nice.
So there's your
So-
day. You do TCF in the mornings. You do Credence and Mikey in the afternoon. You do Lone Wolf in the evening. And who needs to go outside?
Exactly.
Who needs to touch grass?
If
It's
people
too
just
hot anyway.
if people just propped their children up in front of all of
Right.
us,
Now that
it'd be solved.
that
That'll
is
work.
not neglect. That is education.
Exactly.
Shit, did we
Yeah,
just
for
solve
educational
something?
television.
We did.
We need to end it right now.
We just
solved-
solved something.
This is yet another show I have to private.
Although results may vary.
Damn it. All right. Final thoughts, Lindsay? Anything?
Take care of your kids. That just comes down to that. Take care of your kids.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Austin?
I have to second what Lindsay said. Just take care of the kids.
Take care of your kids.
Think of the kids.
Michael?
I'll just say what Dave Muncy used to say. Longtime meteorologist here in Phoenix for 40 years on Channel 10. Watch your children around water.
That's true. A lot of that whole drowning thing around
We
here.
had that. That was such a problem here when I was a kid. That was like every other day.
Yep. Ashley?
If you brought kids into this world due to your own means, don't take them out of this world due to your own means. Be responsible with them and show them love, compassion, care, because even though you didn't get it as a child, doesn't mean that they deserve the same treatment. So break the cycle, do what you need to do, take care of your kids, and love them unconditionally.
There you go. I will end with this. First, Julie earlier gave us a $10 super chat. So
Thank you,
you for that,
Julie.
Oh, thanks, Julie.
And this was episode 80
Oh my
of the
gosh.
show.
80
80. I can't believe we've done 80 of these things already, but we
with special
have.
guest appearance Freya
And we
tonight.
haven't run out
It's
yet.
Special Spirits Freya. So I wanted to just thank all of you again for a good discussion.
Yeah.
Of course.
This show needs to be seen more. Our morning show is like taking off like a rocket ship
Blowing up.
lately, but this show is not getting the attention that it should yet. So share it with people, please.
Yes.
Put it out
Do
on
it.
your social medias. Tell your audiences. Go knock on your neighbor's door. All of that, because this is good discussion. It really is. We don't generally solve things. It's not what we do, but we talk, and that's if anything, it shows how things should work around this country. People talking, and we're probably 5 people that have a lot of deep disagreements in how things should be, but yet we're great friends. So go figure.
Yes.
Just saying.
Opposites
All right, friends.
attract.
So yeah, hang tight. We're gonna redirect you over to Lone Wolf. So give him some love for a little bit, and we'll be back tomorrow morning live, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. If you're a channel member, join me a half an hour early. Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Good night.